People think social media is supposed to bring us closer. We can talk to someone in seconds, see what our friends are doing, and know what is happening in their lives without even asking. But sometimes, the more connected we become online, the more alone we start to feel. You may have hundreds of followers, many chats, and people reacting to your posts, yet still feel like something is missing. You check your phone when you wake up. You scroll when you're bored. You open an app just to see what is happening, and before you know it, an hour is gone. The strange part is that you may feel connected while you're scrolling, but feel even more empty when you put the phone down. So what is really happening? The problem may not be that social media connects us too much. The deeper problem is that it can give us the feeling of connection without giving us the things real connection needs. Human beings need attention, conversation, trust, presence, and real emotional contact. But social media can turn connection into likes, views, comments, messages, and quick reactions. These things can feel good for a moment, but they do not always give us the deeper connection our minds are looking for. And this is where the psychology becomes interesting. Because the real question is not simply, is social media good or bad? The real question is, what happens to our minds and relationships when a screen becomes the main place where we connect? Once you understand that, you may start seeing your relationship with social media very differently. Subscribe to Varry Stories now and enjoy The Problem with Social Media as we journey ahead. Think about what happens when you open social media for the first time in the morning. You may tell yourself that you are only going to check one thing. Maybe you want to see a message, check a notification, or see what your friends have posted. But one video becomes another. One picture becomes another. Soon, you are looking at the lives of people you barely know, comparing yourself to people you have never met, and taking in hundreds of small pieces of information without even realizing how much your mind is processing. And yet, while all of this is happening, it can feel like you are connecting with the world. This is where the problem begins. Social media gives us something that looks like connection, but often requires very little real connection from us. You can like someone's picture without speaking to them. You can watch someone's story without asking how they are doing. You can react to a message with an emoji and move on with your day. These actions are not always bad. In fact, they can help people stay connected. The problem starts when these small interactions slowly replace deeper forms of connection. Psychologists often talk about the difference between being socially connected and simply being socially surrounded. You can be surrounded by people and still feel alone. You can receive attention without feeling understood. You can have people watching you without feeling that anyone truly knows you. And your brain can have a hard time telling the difference at first. Every notification gives you a small reason to look at your phone. Someone liked your picture. Someone replied to your message. Someone posted something new. Your brain learns that checking the phone may lead to something interesting, surprising, or rewarding. So you check again, then again, and again. The important thing is that you are not always searching for information. Sometimes, you are searching for a feeling. You may be looking for approval. You may be looking for attention. You may be trying to escape boredom. You may want to feel included. You may simply want to know that something is happening. This is why saying, "I use social media because I like it," does not always explain the full story. Sometimes we use it because we have learned to use it whenever we feel something uncomfortable. You feel bored, so you scroll. You feel lonely, so you scroll. You feel left out, so you scroll. You feel stressed, so you scroll. You do not know what to do, so you scroll. The phone becomes an easy answer to many different feelings. And because the answer is always available, we may stop asking what the feeling was trying to tell us in the first place. That is where social media can change the way we deal with our emotions. Imagine that you feel lonely. Instead of calling someone, you open an app. You see hundreds of people. You watch their videos. You see their jokes, their trips, their relationships, their achievements, and their daily lives. For a few minutes, you may feel less alone. But then you close the app, and the loneliness is still there. This is not because social media has no value. It is because seeing people is not always the same as connecting with people. Watching someone's life is not the same as sharing your own life with them. Getting a like is not the same as feeling understood. Having followers is not the same as having people you can truly depend on. And this creates a strange cycle. You feel disconnected, so you use social media to feel connected. Social media gives you quick attention, but not always deep connection. The feeling fades, so you return to the app. The more often this happens, the easier it becomes to treat the screen as your first response to uncomfortable feelings. And this is where the problem becomes bigger than simply spending too much time online. The real problem may be what the phone is helping you avoid. Maybe you are avoiding boredom. Maybe you are avoiding silence. Maybe you are avoiding the effort of reaching out to someone. Maybe you are avoiding the uncomfortable feeling of realizing that some relationships in your life are not as close as you thought they were. Because online, it is easy to feel close to people without asking whether those relationships actually have depth. You can see someone's life every day and still not know how they are really doing. You can have a friend who watches every story you post but rarely speaks to you. You can follow hundreds of people and still have nobody to call when you need a real conversation. That is why the number of connections you have online cannot always tell you how connected you really are. And once you understand this, something else becomes clear. The problem with social media is not simply that it takes your time. It can also change what your brain starts to accept as connection. And when quick attention begins to feel like real connection, you may stop noticing what your relationships are actually missing. So, if social media can give us the feeling of connection without always giving us real connection, what happens when we begin to notice the difference? At first, you may not like what you discover. You may realize that some of the people you thought were close to you were only people you regularly saw online. You may notice that some conversations never went deeper than likes, comments, or short messages. You may even discover that you were spending more time watching other people's lives than building your own relationships. And this can feel uncomfortable, because when the noise becomes quiet, you start hearing things that were easy to ignore before. You start asking questions. Who do I actually talk to? Who would I call if I needed help? Who can I sit with without needing a phone? Which relationships give me peace? Which ones only give me attention? And perhaps the most important question is this: am I actually connected to people, or am I simply connected to their updates? These questions can feel painful, but they can also be useful. The mistake is thinking that the answer is to immediately delete every app and disappear from the internet. That may work for some people, but the deeper issue is not the phone itself. The deeper issue is understanding what role social media has started to play in your life. If you use it to keep in touch with people you care about, that can be healthy. If you use it to share something meaningful with friends, that can be healthy too. But if you reach for your phone every time you feel lonely, bored, insecure, or left out, then the phone may be doing something more than helping you communicate. It may be helping you avoid your feelings. And once you see that, you can start making a different choice. Instead of scrolling when you feel lonely, you might call someone. Instead of watching other people have fun, you might make plans with someone you care about. Instead of checking who liked your post, you might ask yourself why their approval matters so much to you. Instead of spending an hour watching other people's lives, you might spend that hour building your own. This does not mean you have to hate social media. It means you stop allowing it to become the answer to every feeling. There is also another important change that happens when you become more aware of this. You start paying attention to the quality of your relationships instead of simply the number of people around you. You may have fewer conversations, but better ones. You may post less, but experience more. You may spend less time watching other people's lives and more time being present in your own. And this is where social media can teach us something important about human connection. Real connection usually asks something from us. It asks us to listen. It asks us to be honest. It asks us to make time. It asks us to notice when someone is struggling. It asks us to show up when there is nothing exciting happening. A like takes seconds. A real conversation can take an hour. Watching someone's story is easy. Understanding someone's pain takes attention. Sending an emoji is simple. Being there for someone when life becomes difficult requires effort. That difference matters, because the relationships that shape us are rarely built from constant entertainment. They are built through ordinary moments. Eating together, talking without a screen, laughing about something only the two of you understand, checking on someone when there is nothing you need from them, sitting in silence without feeling the need to fill every second. These moments may not get likes or views, but they can give us something social media often cannot: the feeling of being truly known. And that is why the goal should not be to escape technology completely. The goal is to become more intentional about how you use it. Use social media to communicate, not to replace communication. Use it to keep in touch, not to avoid reaching out. Use it for entertainment, but do not let entertainment become your main way of dealing with loneliness. Most importantly, learn to notice what you are feeling before you reach for the phone. If you are lonely, ask yourself who you actually want to talk to. If you are bored, ask yourself what you really want to do. If you feel left out, ask yourself whether you need more attention or deeper connection. If you feel insecure, ask yourself whether another person's approval will really solve the feeling. These questions create a small space between the feeling and the habit, and that space can change everything. Because once you stop using social media to silence every uncomfortable feeling, those feelings can finally give you information. Loneliness can show you that you need connection. Boredom can show you that you need something meaningful to do. Insecurity can show you where you need to build confidence. And the desire for attention can show you that you may be searching for something deeper than a notification. So perhaps the real problem with social media is not that it connects us. It is that sometimes it gives us just enough connection to stop us from looking for the connection we actually need. The answer is not to become someone who never uses social media. The answer is to become someone who knows the difference between being entertained, being noticed, and being truly connected. Because the moment you understand that difference, your phone stops being the place where you go to escape your feelings and becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool you control, instead of a tool that controls your attention.
I hope you understood what you watched. If not, watch again.